What do we know about death or dying? Death is cessation of life and dying is process that ends in death. Apart from this, we know nothing about death. The concept of death is very empty. Even experts on death know very little about it. There are two main reasons for this. No one has the experience of death who could come back from it and tell us about the experience. There is no near death. Death has not occurred until you have died, and once you have died, there is no return to share your experience. Second, the end of life is beginning of emptiness. There is nothing to conceptualize. Hence, no experience can be returned. Death unites us all, in the sense that we all are equally ignorant about it. Death, at least on the physical plane, is clearly the terminating point from life, and no one knows where exactly it merges into. Death is not separate from life, it is extension of life. The last act results in termination of the life process. Death, however, is real and affects us all. It is definitive and decisive. It is simple termination of life. In any case of death, there is no subject to suffer harm. Because when death happens, the person ceases to exist, and there is no harm death can do to that person. This might sound as not compassionate to the near and dear one of the dead. It is very rational. All the people mourning are alive, and if they do not acknowledge the true meaning of death, they will suffer from grief.
Dhruva is the name for pole star in many Indian languages, including Sanskrit. The word also used to imply meaning of fixed, firm, immovable, stable, permanent and constant. In addition to its meaning of perpetual, everlasting and eternal, Dhruvam also means apex of a structure, summit of a mountain or a peak. In Bhagavad Gita, the Indian holy epic, Chapter 2 verse 27, the word Dhruvam is used to describe end of life as inevitable, sure and certain. Jatasya hi dhruvo maracho, for one who is born, death is certain. Inspiration to this book is from application of all meanings of Dhruvam to this line. Death as a stable, certain, inevitable sequence for anyone who is born, but also is the peak and pinnacle of the life process itself. North Star can help you find directions in the darkest nights. You need to know to locate the position and recognize the star. Recognition of end of life is the same. Once you recognize and acknowledge the finitude of life, it will help you find the direction in life, even in the darkest hours. Like Dhruvam, death is the constant and certainty. Death is what gives life that exciting finish, the edge, the finale. Finitude of life is a potential motivator. In the end, we will succumb to that finitude, but we will try to keep it off for as long as possible. Great collective and individual human effort has gone into activities primarily designed to prevent death. Very survival of ancestors depended on their ability to feed themselves and protect from wild beasts. Invention of fire and agriculture were basic tools which prevented untimely death of many. Clothes to wear, safe places to sleep, easy access to basic life needs were all invented to prolong life and to improve quality of it.
But there is another side to it. Humanity as a whole, with rare exceptions, definitely fears it. Talking about death often leads to gloom and despondency. So little is known about the process. Soon after death, it leaves a large vacuum for speculative description. Much of the gap in knowledge is filled by religious scriptures, cultural notes passed from generations to the next, with blind faith in the almighty power. None of these religious tones have been impartially scrutinized. Therefore, there is a total unflinching trust in what has been the only thing people believed for several generations. Until there is no substitute for this dependence, this trend is bound to continue. Every unknown thing has potential to create fear in human mind. Facts of death are largely unknown. So are facts about God and religion. The combination, dependency of one unknown over the other, has created an ever more fearful ambience. Enigma of death in a way is the root cause for the stranglehold of religion over the society and source for the need for invention of God. Death may be an end to an individual, but as a species for the survival of the species, it is an absolute essential. Without the death and clearing out of the old and birth of the new, the genetic selection and survival of the fittest would be possible. There won't be any evolution. We would remain the chimps or the bacterium, depending on how far back you look in history. So, for nature, recycling of individuals, creating newer breeds and recycling elements to make them is an essential activity. That theory can apply to human species at intellectual level as well. Without recycling of individuals, world will be full of same thought, same genetics and same personalities. Every new generation comes with new set of idea, creating new skills, new genetic makeup, and the life keeps evolving. People living longer and having less progeny can't be advantageous to the progress of the species. The alternation of death and birth is the pulse beat for the species. In the face of death, individually and collectively, we can achieve amazing things. There was dark clouds of depression and anxiety related to coronavirus disease in United Kingdom in early 2020. The gloom spread to the economy, daily life, jobs, basic supplies, and every possible civilized way of life was affected. Yet, the fear of death and sheer determination to overcome it, collectively as a nation, made some impossible things happen. First Nightingale Hospital in London was built in 9 days to care for patients with intensive care needs. The capacity to treat thousands needing intensive care beds and complex ventilatory process. In normal times, I have waited a month for the Heath system to decide if I could have a piece of equipment or not. The sense of time death injects in humans and the power of it is enormous. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It is life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Steve Jobs, in his 2005 speech to the graduating class at Stanford University,